Hello, I'm called the Tale of Whiplash because of my whiplash. Here's my whiplash. Hello! Oh! Oh,
Whiplash, did I just hear the obliteration of your spine again?
yes, Evil-Lyn.
Oh, Whiplash, you incorrigible lunatic. Look at that mess again.
I'm sorry, Evil-Lyn.
That's okay, but I must tell you that your relentless insistence on performing variations of this bit every week is becoming tiresome. One could argue that it was mildly amusing several weeks ago, but at this point you have milked it dry and are now simply demonstrating a lazy and hubristic masturbation. Presumably, your spirits will now appear, and you will all shout penis at me.
Yes, penis, Evil-Lyn.
Amazing. Spirits, clear off. Whiplash, would you like this channel to ever accumulate 500 subscribers?
Oh, yes.
Then you must cease and desist this farcical back-breaking routine and up your game.
Oh, but I had another variation for next week. Can I still do that, Evil-Lyn?
Look, it's up to you, Whiplash. This show is ludicrous, and my interest in its success is minimal. I'm just trying to help you, despite my overwhelming indifference. Now, pull yourself together, and let's get you patched up.
Okay. How am I doing this, Evil-Lyn?
I have no idea, Whiplash.
Okay, this, ladies and gentlemen, is a weekly Q&A series, usually called SkeleTalk. However, Skeletor has gone AWOL again, so until he returns, I will be your host, and the show has been temporarily called Whip Chatter. Let's see what you've been asking this week. Jason Raphael Murdoch asks, beer, wine, or whiskey? Which does Evil-Lyn drink to get over the silliness of this show? I don't think she's ever been interested enough to be affected by it. She does roll her eyes a lot, but generally doesn't have much of an opinion. She does help us out sometimes if common sense is needed, but I get the impression she'd rather be practicing her scowling or reading Angela Carter. That wasn't the most exciting answer, so perhaps this photo of a panther on a glass piano in a field full of chickens will help. Thanks, Jason. Jojo has a question regarding my mention last week of the very big moth from which I hide on Wednesday evenings. Jojo wants to know why I do not simply eat the moth, as moths are simply nighttime butterflies. Well, I'm afraid that moths taste incredibly depressing. They are usually very bitter, and their wings are made of misery powder. In addition, I don't think you fully appreciate the size of the Wednesday moth. It is as big as a baby's shoe, and I want nothing to do with it. Thanks, Jojo. K-Dog presents a hypothetical scenario in which one of our regular contributors could be subjected to a fiendish method of sticky torture, and wonders if Skeletor would choose honey, molasses, or orange marmalade. My gut instinct tells me that Lord Skeletor would defer this decision until he was able to discuss the matter with General Stephen Jones of our expansion division. The General is in charge of all things sticky, and this is precisely the sort of thing that would require his expertise. This is why we employ professionals. Thanks. Evil-Lyn, Monkeyboy forgot to apply the duct tape again. Can we just do that quickly so there's some continuity? That's better. Now, Weapon Zero asks if we celebrate Easter on Eternia and if we have any strange Easter customs. Well, no, we don't celebrate Easter. In fact, it is a time of deep foreboding. To combat this, it is customary for citizens to place eggs in plain sight on every available surface. All eggs must be observable at all times, and no surreptitious egg storage is permitted for 72 hours. If an egg is found, it is considered a portent of doom for that particular household, a curse that may only be lifted once every child in the land has cast their eyes upon this secretive egg. Once the egg has accumulated the gaze of every young person, It is then considered clean and must be used to make a single meringue, which must then be thrown into the sea. The yolk can be put in any bin. Last Easter, old Granny Dirty Feather forgot she'd left half a dozen duck's eggs at the back of her pantry, which resulted in quite a palaver that took several weeks to resolve. A costly exercise that did not go down well with the taxpayers, forfeiting, as it did, the existing plans to install dog shit bins around the perimeter of the council offices. Thanks, Weapon. Cat asks if I wish Spider-Man had never removed the symbiote. No, I much preferred it when the symbiote worked with Eddie Brock to become Venom. In the absence of an amusing answer, please instead enjoy this photo of a fridge full of teddy bears. Thanks. Retro Toy Guy Sai asks, Jennifer Lawrence, Katy Perry, or Sandra Bullock? Who is best at driving a tractor through a busy town centre on a hot day, topless? Well, the variables of this scenario make a value judgment quite difficult. Katy Perry is not allowed to drive a tractor because this would cause her to believe she is a farmer, to write a song about a lifetime of farming, and to talk with assumed authority about tractor operation, despite being unaware of what a tractor actually is. Jennifer Lawrence is quite good at driving tractors with reckless abandon through densely populated pedestrian areas, but she prefers not to work on hot days because the pheromones in her perspiration cause powerful aphrodisiacal effects on those around her, which she finds embarrassing. Sandra Bullock is more than capable of driving all manner of farm equipment very well and extremely dangerously, but she would insist that the tractor had a roof. She will not drive topless tractors because of her tendency to roll them whilst cornering at high speed. To be honest, we're all confused as to why you didn't suggest Floella Benjamin for this terrifying murder spree. Thanks. Daniel Herrin asks, Eva Green, Sydney Sweeney, or Helen from HR? Who tastes better with whipped cream? Well, I'm afraid I'm not particularly au fait with the flavour profiles of these ladies, so it's difficult to predict what in itself would be a subjective experience. However, I do have some information on the unique scent of these individuals, so I will use this to form an opinion. Jason Raphael Murdoch reports that Eva Green has the scent of a dangerous cherry, so whipped cream would seem to be a reasonable accompaniment. Sydney Sweeney smells of money and eyelash glue, as well as often being heavily glittered, so I would argue does not make the best candidate for any type of creaming. And Helen from HR exudes a subtle fragrance of vanilla at the weekends, but during her working week she is heavily scented with a musk that is quite mathematical and difficult to work out. Ironically, Helen from accounting does not smell like numbers. She instead carries the aroma of a loose hinge. I hope that information is useful, Daniel. Alex James asks if it's true that I am second cousins with Weird Al Yankovic.
That's Ross Noble, Whiplash.
Oh, here we are.
No, that's Howard Stern.
Oh, there we go.
That's Gina Davis.
Is this him?
Russell Brand.
Oh, this must be right.
That's a wet poodle.
I don't know who Weird Al Yankovic is, Evil-Lyn.
This is him, Whiplash.
Oh, he looks a bit like my second cousin. Andrew is wondering what Monkeyboy thinks of the new Hurricane Hordak, and what I think of him. Well, I think Monkeyboy began to tire of the vintage-inspired origins a while ago, and is now focused on the cartoon collection. We've seen Hurricane Hordak and feel that he and Collector's Edition Cyclone could have been presented on the deluxe card backs, like we saw with characters like Leech and Dragon Blaster Skeletor, meaning they would fit into an existing carded collection. But we have no real issues with the figure, and the alternate head sculpt is interesting. What do I think of him? Well, I think of Monkeyboy as an idiot, a point so important that it has forced my deliberate misunderstanding of your question. Thanks, Andrew. Stephen Gray asks, after a hard day lopping off heads beneath the blazing Eternian sun, do the evil warriors like to cool off with a funny feet ice cream, or do they prefer a tip-top? No, we all have our ice cream of choice. Skeletor usually has a classic cornetto, and Beastman does like to enjoy a rocket or a zoom. Trapjaw normally chooses a fab, and Merman tends to grab a knobbly bobbly. Scareglow does often choose a funny feet, although we all think the name is misleading and should instead be called Funny Foot. Jitsu likes a 99 with a flake, but the ice cream van only visits at the weekend, so in the week he just has crisps and a Capri Sun. Evil-Lyn always has a Magnum, unless they've run out, in which case she will accept a feast. Faker likes a 2-ball screwball, and I like to have a twister. Panther can't have dairy, so he usually has something's heart or liver. Everyone else gets a pineapple mivvy. Thanks for the ice cream-based question. Paul Wilson asks, what's the oldest piece of clothing you own, and what's the story behind it? Oh, it is the top of a Smurfs pyjama set from 1981. I keep it because it has an unusually robust garment care label that makes an interesting squeaking noise when its two halves are rubbed together. Oh, and I have one of those little wristband towels that used to belong to Steffi Graf in 1988. It still carries the scent of determination. Thanks. Defending our 6 this week is Soda Cauldron, who asks, in the style of Me Rod Yours, what is favourite bean? Oh, easy, runner. Oh no, flat. Or maybe kidney. No, Mexican jumping. Oh, no, dwarf. No, jelly beans. No, kitty toe beans.
Whiplash.
Oh, yes, spirit of me and spirit of me.
It seems like you're just listing beans arbitrarily.
I know it seems that I'm just listing beans arbitrarily. Spirit of me and spirit of me. I've done it by accident. Oh, that's my phone. You'll have to excuse me. Oh, it's Skeletor. Hello, Skeletor.
Shut up. I've just received a notification that you are in the middle of an arbitrary list of beans, some of which are not even beans.
Yes, Skeletor, it's frightening me.
Well, stop doing it then. It's not difficult. Just say you like all of the beans. Oh, and Whiplash, never call me again.
You called me, Skeletor.
Shut up.
Soda, I like all of the beans. The Beast Man. Can you come and record an outro?
Why?
I've done an underpants pudding.
Okay, there's plenty of room in the fridge. Hello. Thanks for watching this week's video. I'm guessing it was probably quite weird. If you enjoyed it, please indicate your approval by thumbing it up. And don't forget to leave a comment or a question for next time.
Beastman, where are the freezer bags?
No, use Tupperware. It will be much easier to decant once you've reheated it.
Have you got a spoon?
No, I have to go. See you next time.
Is that a bit of sweet corn?
It is.